to make it tonight. Thank you, Nan. And thank you all for joining in person and also online to our Downtown-Diridon November CWG meeting. We're so glad you could make it. Just want to go through our agenda real quick for tonight. So we're going to have our typical welcome and introduction. We'll then have a general phase 2 update presented by Bernice. We will also have an approved cost saving concepts to be advanced presented by Erica. And Bernice will share a little bit about our CWG meeting format. We'll have some open discussion and dialogue on that front. Brent will share our construction update. And then I will go into our BSB year in review, as this is our last CWG meeting of 2024. And then we'll have our typical CWG member report out and next steps. So with that, we wanted to switch it up and do something a little different. So with Thanksgiving around the corner, we do want to ask if you were to only choose 3 items of listed here. So turkey, bread, mashed potatoes, pie, mac and cheese, cornbread, ham, stuffing, cranberry sauce. What would it be? So think on that. We're going to do our roll call and I will keep this slide up, but we will go through our list of folks. Is Adina? No. Don't see Adina. I do see Alan in the room. Alan, do you want to share, introduce yourself and also share your top 3 that you would choose?
Sure. Alan Williams, Navy Park. That's the University neighborhood. Turkey stuffing, cranberry.
Thank you, Alan. All right, Bert Weaver, do you want to introduce yourself and share your top 3?
Bert Weaver, Delmas Park neighborhood, turkey, mashed potatoes, and cranberries.
Thank you, Bert. Is Carol on the line? No. All right. How about Charlie? Let me know if he's on vacation. Oops. Today. How about Chris Morrissey? I think he was online.
Chris Morrissey with the San Jose Arena Authority. Turkey, stuffing, and mashed potatoes.
Thank you, Chris. And then Chris Shea. Do you want to introduce yourself and your top 3?
Chris Shea, Senior Vice President, Shark Sports and Entertainment, pie, turkey.
Good answer. Thank you, Chris.
That's right.
And is Dana on the line? Or Edgar? Right. Is Elizabeth on the line?
Yes.
All right, Elizabeth, do you want to introduce yourself and your top 3?
Elizabeth Chintel, representing the San Jose Downtown Resident Association. My choices will be the bread, the pie, and the cranberry.
Great picks. Thank you, Elizabeth. Is James on the line? Right. Jeffrey, Jose. I know Kristen couldn't make it tonight. Is Larry here? Or Mike? And I see Nate. Is Nate online? And Ron, do you want to list your top 3 and introduce yourself?
Sure, Ron Gonzalez, Hispanic Foundation. So, pick my favorite holidays. I'm gonna go turkey, mac and cheese.
Awesome, thank you, Ron. And I see Tony just left the room, but we can come back to him if he wants to be on the hotspot. So thank you all for coming, both virtually and in person here. Wanted to go through really quickly some of our upcoming meetings that we have. So as mentioned, this is our last November or 2024 CWG meeting. Our next meeting will be February 11th. And just wanted to list some of the upcoming board of directors related meetings that are happening in December and January, February timeline, since we won't be meeting until February. So a few board of directors meetings and oversight committee meetings. Again, we'll email out a reminder before these meetings happen closer to date. And also wanted to bring to your attention our upcoming community meeting that's happening. We will be having a virtual and an in-person meeting on December 2nd and 4th. And For those of you who are here in person, it'll be right here on the 4th. And the virtual will be on Zoom. So we'll send out more information to come. And we'll speak more to that. And as a reminder, we'll just send out email invitations and reminders as meetings come up. So wanted to go over our meeting objectives really quickly here. So for today, wanted to provide a general BSV project update for you all and just a look ahead into 2025 as we look to the next year and our upcoming milestones. And then also wanted to chat through and clarify some of our CWG meeting structure. I know that there's been a lot of meetings this past year, and so just wanted to chat through that with you and talk next steps and what that looks like. And then also, of course, provide the opportunity for feedback and larger discussion as a group too. So that's what we'll be going into. With that, I do want to pass it over to Bernice for our phase 2 update.
So wanted to start with just going over your team. We are here to support the project and you all, and we've had some new members join our team, and then we've had some members of our former team change positions. And first off, I want to introduce now Erica Brooks, who is now the Deputy for External Affairs. She was previously a consultant, has been on the project. Phase 1 back as far as 2011, and now has been on phase 2 since 2014 when we started the environmental process. I wanted to introduce Brent, who many of you know from also being on the project since 2008, and then was VTA planning, but he is here as the planning and outreach manager. So just those two individuals and myself, I just want you to know that anytime you have any questions, concerns, please feel free to reach out to us. We are leading the team of all these other key individuals. Matt is leading our communications and outreach, and the team that's supporting these events like Kristen and Nan and Adriano is the key technical person for the downtown station. We have Erin, she's not here tonight, but she's the key technical person for Diridon. We have the team that is supporting communications like Tiffany and Angela. Kristen has been supporting these meetings and a lot of our outreach and communication efforts. We have Clarence, who has joined to help support some of the efforts at the Santa Clara station and also provide some leadership to the team, as well as Monica, who has been very engaged with all the previous advocacy efforts that we did and efforts at the 22 Little Portugal station. And I think I've covered everybody. I don't think I forgot anyone. So just wanted you to get familiar with this team because they are your resource. Anytime you have a question or concern, especially for those at Downtown-Diridon, knowing their technical resources and the management team. So just wanted to give you an update. Getting our funding through the federal government is a key priority for this project right now. It is sort of the main focus of all of the administrative efforts on the project. And we do communicate regularly with the FTA and our project management oversight consultant. We actually have a meeting with them. We have monthly meetings with the project management oversight consultant. They are who the FTA hires to really monitor all of our management, our budgeting, our cost, our resources, our staff, lots of the leadership staff. We were all interviewed last month by the FTA to demonstrate that we have the capacity to lead and the management experience. So we have these ongoing meetings with the FTA. We also have over-shoulder reviews. They look at all our documents, they ask questions, we respond. We did congressional delegation briefings in September, just really familiarizing those individuals in Washington that could represent us and help advocate for the funds. And we met with the senior staff at FTA headquarters in Region 9, that's a region that serves us, to just discuss the FFGA timeline and ongoing cost.
Could you remind me what FFGA is?
It is a full funding grant agreement. And so we are applying for funding. The Federal Trades Administration through the Nurse Starts program has committed $5.1 billion to our project. And we are in the last phase of that, which is the engineering phase, where we submit now a slew more of documents and the advanced design. And once we meet all the criteria, and I will walk you through all the steps on the next slide of what we're doing to get to that full funding grant agreement, because this is a critical point in the project right now, because that is the last piece of the equation, and then some other funds that we're working on and other project reductions to get that full funding grant agreement. So this is our path to that FFGA. And we have changed things up a little bit to really improve our strategy on making sure that we are in the best position possible to negotiate that agreement for $5.1 billion. So we have some design milestones coming up. When we started these cost savings kind of concepts and criteria, when we got word of the 5.1 billion, that was about $1 billion less than we had hoped to get from the federal government. So we have been working very diligently to close that gap. And in doing that, we were looking at what kind of refinements can we make to the project to close that gap? And then what other funding can we pursue? And we have made a commitment to not go back to our voters locally, right? But we are looking at more state funds and have applied for a couple of grants. But in doing that, we have the cost saving candidates that we're reviewing and we reviewed with our board Friday to show where we're at. We had some kind of clear direction about really focusing those primarily on things that weren't directly related to passenger experience. So we're advancing those. There are some elements of the station and station design, but not really affecting how passengers get down to the platform and the time it takes from the front door to get your ticket to get on the train. So to be better positioned, we want, before we put in our application, we originally were going to apply and submit materials in December, but we want to advance those concepts to 60% because we want to have those fully developed and really have a good solid cost estimate for those when we apply for the funding. So those concurrently, we have the construction activities. Chris.
Bruce, I'm sorry, really quick question. I'm sure it's a 900-pound gorilla in the room.
Sure.
What does the commitment from the government become non-discretionary? What happened last week nationally? How would that impact our full funding agreement?
So what we have been told is because of the program, right? It is a set program that, and the commitment, and we're already in the program, that there should not be any type of, what do I want to say, backtracking on the commitment that's already made. Of course, there's no guarantees until we get the full funding grant agreement, but it is a formal program. I mean, unless there is a huge cut in transportation, right, infrastructure funding. But right now they have made the commitment. So unless there's a whole overhaul or something, we're, yeah, I mean,
You never say 100%. That's
Yes.
certainly in anybody's mind. Well, thank you.
so we're far enough into it, right, that commitment's been already made, at least we're at that point. So these are the construction activities that we need to occur, and that is the launch structure, mobilizing that, because we want to make sure we stay on our schedule. So proceeding with all these activities and getting that West Portal site ready for when the tunnel boring machine arrives. We don't want to lose any time, because time on this project is about, I think, $30 million, like, a month if we delay. So keeping those things and getting that launch structure mobilization, and then West Portal TBM launch structure construction beginning in February of 2025. Then we have the engagement efforts. We got clear direction from our board that they want to make sure that our CWG members and the community at large are weighing in. So we did the meetings that we had in October, the extra meetings, and we appreciate your really participating and weighing in on that. We had the board workshop on Friday, where all of those cost-saving concepts were reviewed with the board, and we shared the very concepts that you had seen last month. And then we will advance those, and we will continue this engagement up until the time we apply in the April timeframe. Then we have the board decisions, based on the feedback that they're getting from the community and key stakeholders on both, the early works package, which is 3B, that is where we're going to be, doing some other activities to facilitate and get ready for the tunnel boring machine. And then we will have the launch structure in December, which is the big contract to basically build the large shaft where we'll launch the tunnel boring machine. It is a big activity, and that will go to the board in December. And then we will be looking at our current contract delivery mechanism with our contract for the tunnel and track work. We already have awarded phase 1, and that's which all of this early works is taking place. And then there is the next phase of that. So decisions on the next phase of the big tunnel and track work contract will be made in the February-March timeframe. And then we will present our revised budget based on all of the more accurate cost estimates on these costs and what funds we will have secured to close that $700 million gap. And last but not least are the FTA milestones, showing within everything that we're doing to make sure we don't do anything to compromise our environmental clearance, right? So we have what we call our guardrails of what we can and cannot do. We're looking at things like you all know, doing surface parking versus parking structure at 20 Street Little Portugal. And we're able to do that because the environmental commitment is we have to provide the parking, but it doesn't necessarily state like how that has to be done. So looking at surface parking to save cost versus a structure. So just keeping those cost savings within the guardrail. Then we will, once we vetted everything through these cost savings, because we want to have that more advanced design, because without advancing that design over those, the first of the year, the first quarter, the FTA might come back to us and say, well, you've got these designs, but they're not far enough along, and we could add risk and contingency to that, which would eat up some of the savings. So that's why we want to have a further level of design when we go with that application to really prevent them assigning more risk and contingency. Then we would have our project management oversight consultant, which I had mentioned before, who sort of monitors everything. They will do a risk review and could possibly say, yeah, everything looks really good. They could still assign a little more risk. And then once we get that input, then we apply for the application in August of 2025, looking at getting our FFGA at the end of 2025 or early 2026. These show all of, in the boxes, the key activities that happen and how they are interrelated and how each of them has to happen before the next critical item can happen. So you can see basically all of these, the cost savings concepts, advancing it, all these things need to be done before we make that our FFGA readiness documents in first quarter of 2025.
The launch structure has to be completed before the FTA.
No, the contract, like, yes. Yeah, that's gonna take a good year or more.
For this packaging for the whole project, we have different packages. Where does the station construction fall? Is that a separate package?
Yes, so there's 4 major contracts. And like I said, for the tunnel and track work, 2 phases of that we awarded the first phase, but yet to award in advance that second phase for stage 2 design, which will happen in the early part of 2025.
Question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Going back to Chris's sort of question, it concerns me that the schedule doesn't have us submitting your FFTA in May of 2025. 12 months into a new administration. That has made it very clear where they're going to go. Particularly how they're going to send money to different states. I don't need to know now, but I'm hoping that there's some off agenda strategy meetings taking place. And different options. Not
Yeah, no, totally appreciate that perspective. initially our aspiration was to have submitted prior to this, but we really have to have that solid funding plan. And so we needed to identify those cost saving candidates and advance the design on them. So kind of weighing back and forth, do we put that through, do we wait until we have a more solid application? And so the decision was made, but yes, very, very conscious of what types of strategies in a new administration, right, that is maybe not as supportive of transit infrastructure as the current one is.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any questions online? Anyone?
No. Folks, if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them into the chat or raise your hand. Nan is not, just keeping watch.
Thomas Scott, representative of the state design program. So from a design perspective, the funding fully or the FFG is fully funded, they're gonna be a design for the UK. What does that mean?
So right now we're looking at things like within the tunnel, and we have an environmentally cleared project with 4 stations, a tunnel, right? So we can't alter that significantly. We can make tweaks and look for cost saving elements, but we cannot like change a station, move a station. We can maybe slightly shrink the size of the station, and we're working on things like within the tunnel that actually have some of the larger cost savings and just some efficiencies of the station, but we can't really significantly change any of the design because that would be a different project. So we are limited, and that's why we have to kind of stay within the environmental clearance of the project as scoped and find those cost savings without altering the basically core of the project. Any other questions? So on here, you will see, these are all of the activities that need to happen in board decisions once again, and get to the point where we can do the FFGA. And what's really important on this illustration is that we have to have all of these things happen, and we have to have a full funding grant agreement to award that next big contract for tunnel and track work. It's a big contract, so we have to demonstrate that the project's fully funded. So all of these steps leading to that are critical. So we are doing everything we can to really stay on this new schedule, to get the project going as it currently is, and then be able to continue with the large contract. So for our FFGA application, this is the strategy I talked about a little bit before, engaging you all, getting your input on the cost saving candidate changes that we proposed. And we've really let the board know where this group and our design review committee members, the input that you've already had, which has made some tweaks already as far as some of the station configuration elements, such as, we started at 28th Street Little Portugal with a round station, and then we're to a square, and then now we're back to a round. At downtown, we've gotten a significant amount of input. We had started with kind of a very domed roof, and then we had flattened the roof, and now we're back to the dome. And I know we may have some other slight tweaks on how that's displayed visually, but working through that with you all and just have relayed that to our board. And I think we're going to be doing some kind of summary document because I think it really helps to have that all down on the input that we've got. As I said before, advancing this design really helps us get informed decision on the next contracts and everything. And then we have applied for about 100 million in state grants. And thank you all. I know some of you have provided support letters to help us in doing that. So we're working that gap from both sides and looking at every opportunity in addition to cutting costs on the project to see what other kind of revenues we can tap into. And then we'll have our final revised project budget so we can submit our documents to the FTA. This is our funding plan, and as you can see, this shows the 100 million on the side that we've just applied for, and the $700 million gap that we're filling. I think we have at the meeting on Friday, we have identified a little over half so far with really rough cost estimates of the 700 million gap. So still working on identifying some other possible cost saving measures to fill that as well.
Denise, what's the timing on that grant? Find out about.
Spring.
No, no, the exact.
With the collection of CWG community input on different aspects associated with cost cutting that has to happen to bring us the budget. If we get 100 million, it would be awesome. That'll just make it kind of smaller. Have you pushed forward into the board on position associated with it? Some of the board members discussing down the board. Today's first reviews call for absolutely no going back on the board. I know staff is with that position that we should not go back. I know the board standard board is the only way to go, but if they heard emphatically from the community and the downtown community.
I think the only, what was reiterated on Friday was, and they made it clear that we're only looking at a twin bore segment, possibly from the end of the line at Berryessa to 28th Street, Little Portugal. Looking at twin bore for the entire project is a different project. We basically have to start all over, and I think all the estimates show a minimum of a 2 to 3 year delay. And so even if there were cost savings, which we have not had that fully demonstrated to us, as I mentioned, that 30 million a month, you multiply that by 3 years, like. So at this point, we've kind of committed, we advanced, right? I mean, we've all decided to go in this direction, and I know there are still some individuals and groups that want us to go back the other way, but the project that we applied for funding is the single bore project.
Thank you for having them.
So this just shows where we're going to get there and the key activities that need to happen. We did the November, you're at the community working group. We have the other 2 groups this week. We will have our workshop with the project management oversight consultant and the FTA. That's a really important step. They want to make sure we're all headed in the right direction. We are going to have the December community meetings, and in addition to getting input from our CWGs, we really wanted to just get a pulse from the larger community. We did that at 28th Street as well when we were looking at that station. So I think that's really important to demonstrate that the direction we're going is supported by our community working groups, our DRCs, and the community at large. We will be having our 2025 Q1 series, regularly scheduled meetings. And then, as you know, if we need to have any other weighted input from this group, we'll let you know about our interim meetings. And then we will be doing ongoing coordination. BART plays a significant role in these cost saving candidates as far as the rail yard at Santa Clara Station. That is a significant saving. So coordinating with BART, because ultimately they're operator and they need to accept all of these changes. And then ongoing updates to our BSV oversight committee meeting.
Any questions online or in person from this section? And online folks, feel free to raise your hand or enter your questions in the chat. All right, with that, we'll move on to our next section and pass it off to Erica. Thanks, Bernice.
Thank you. So I'm going to walk through the cost savings candidates that the VTA board approved to move forward with at the special meeting that was held last Friday, that Bernice mentioned. So it's in these main 5 areas here that you see the colors at the bottom of the screen: the interior tunnel reconfiguration, concurrent tunneling from the east and the west portals, reconfiguration of the yard, as Bernice mentioned, refining the station design, and the conversion of parking structure to spaces at the 28th Street Little Portugal Station. So for the tunnel interior reconfiguration, we're continuing to analyze efficient internal structures to simplify the design and the construction methodology to cut and save costs in there. So we're continuing to analyze that moving forward. We're studying concurrent tunneling from the east, as well as the single bore tunneling that's planned from the west. We're evaluating options in close coordination with BART regarding the vehicle storage capacity and the different maintenance areas at the yard and what we can do there to refine the costs. And then at the stations, we're continuing to work with you all and the community to implement the vision for the stations, optimizing the facilities while maintaining the passenger experience. So we're gonna do a little bit deeper dive into these. Yes,
You say tunneling on both sides, it's going to require two TBMs, right?
correct. Yes, tunneling for both ends from the east as well as the west would require multiple tunnel boring machines.
So we would expect the cost savings to reduce time.
Yes, so the cost savings for that option would be associated with schedule savings from being able to tunnel from both directions to reduce the overall tunneling time. All right, so on the coming slides, it has these evaluation criteria, which we've shown to you before, but wanted to provide here for a quick reminder that the pluses are a positive change. The equals are no change and the negatives are a negative change. So it's not, the indicator is associated with the change and not with the cost. So we have evaluation criteria, which hasn't changed from what we showed you before on the cost savings, O&M costs, access and orientation, TOD and placemaking, the station presence, the passenger experience, and the sustainable design. So these we walked through with you at the October 8th meeting. So we're going to cover all four stations high level. So here we have an updated rendering of the Santa Clara station that has a smaller size station entrance building roof and maintains the orchard pavilion concept that was reviewed with the design review committee. We're utilizing across all stations more effective, cost-effective materials, as Greg has mentioned in previous presentations. And so today what you're seeing on the screen is an in progress of these updated renderings of the stations that don't have any color at this point and have much different look when we add in the color and the different finishes. And then we will have continued design review committee engagement next year on this, followed by public engagement about the look and feel. But this is the first update of where they are today. Here's another closer view of the Santa Clara station. And then here we are at Diridon, utilizing more cost-effective materials. At the October 8th meeting, we had a discussion about the roof and whether the equipment that would need to go on the roof should be enclosed in a separate area or whether the roof should be widened. And so this reflects the rendering on the right, reflects that. We're still providing for future TOD fronting Post Street, the south end of the station on the block with the station infrastructure facilities above ground. Another view of the current concept of the Diridon station. So these are in progress. And downtown, we're going to maintain the iconic station presence based on our previous discussions that Peter went through at the meeting in October. You know, you see where the roof design is taken all the way down to the ground with the continuous arch around the station front there, maintaining the efficiency of the station infrastructure facilities within the station building and in the plaza area to the north of the station, adjacent to the future TOD. And emphasizing the Santa Clara Street entrance as gateway and the facade there, as there's an entrance into the TOD in the back as well. And this is an interior view of the current design of the downtown station. And then 28th Street, as mentioned, replacing the parking garage with parking in all the blue squares you see there on the screen, that will be integrated into future TOD in the future. Still all while maintaining the future Five Winds Trail location shown right at the bottom on the west side of 28th Street. For the 28th Street station, we've changed the roof line to be back to a circular roof line based on the community feedback. We are optimizing the use of space for the station infrastructure facilities. We moved some of them more up to the north ventilation facility, provided for some ground floor leasable space in the above ground station infrastructure facilities building. See the concept here on the right. Here's another view. The station infrastructure facility building is there on the right side of the screen, and that's the commercially leasable space on the ground floor. So that's what we have today for the stations. In particular, wanted to see if you all had any additional feedback on the downtown or Diridon stations. As you're the Downtown-Diridon group.
Sure, one president on the Santa Clara site station. Market.
The downtown San Jose station is, yes, between Market and First Street, where the Chase Bay building is where the entrance will be on Santa Clara Street.
And the Diridon station, where's all the infrastructure going? Something's gonna go behind the station on the ground floor,
Correct.
some underground.
So the station infrastructure facilities will be above ground at the back end of the station, and then some of them will be on the roof as well. So, but we were able to shift them, so there's still room for a future TOD development on the block at the south end of the block. Chris?
A lot about them in total, but it's still, even after cross cutting, they're still very attractive stations. I think we'll be very proud of those.
Thank you.
Let's step back to the tunnel interior, configuration.
Mhm.
We talked about that in the last meeting. And you'll still have it under study, I understand that. I know that very early on, you were talking about, the bottom of the tunnel could be used as for something, perhaps pipelines to run through, or perhaps, traffic to run through it or something like that. Is there any value in extra space that's in there underneath the platform?
That's part of what's being evaluated now, but we do not have enough space for vehicles or things like that to run through there, but they are looking at things. The use of that space in the tunnel as part of this interior reconfiguration. So as it continues to advance, we'll come back and give you further updates on that.
Right. Thank you.
Any questions?
And I do see a residual question from, I think, our previous section from Elizabeth. And I know Chris Shea had previously touched upon the single board, but she's curious on general thoughts or elaboration on the Mercury News article from today that was released with regards to single board. I don't know if Bernice, you want to speak to that at all?
I think just what I had said earlier, that the project that we are scoping out right now is environmentally clear in the single board project, and other than a small segment of concurrent tunneling to look at some time savings that we are pursuing and applying for the project as scoped as a single project.
Thanks, Brittany. Any other questions or comments from folks online or in person? All right, with that, we can move on to the next section. So passing it back to you, Bernice, for our CWG meeting format.
So we did our little exercise today in our picking your 3 choices for Thanksgiving, because we are trying our best to really make these meetings more interactive. And just wanted to kind of get your pulse on things and go over what we will be doing for next year, and then get your feedback on that. So as previously, we are planning to have our routine meetings in February, May, September, and November. We plan to continue with like what we're doing this evening, have the in-person meeting, and then an option for those who either can't make it or desire to attend remotely. And then continue with 3 separate CWG series for each of the station areas. Diridon Downtown is one, 23 Little Portugal and Santa Clara. But just really wanted to get some feedback from you. If you all feel like you see some change as far as the interactivity and the supplemental meetings that we've done to really get in more engaged discussion, and how you're feeling about this. I think tonight's turnout is fairly good, but we're still at about 50% attendance, and just really trying to figure out how we can make these worth your time and that you feel like you're really helping shape this project.
Well, we're here, so I don't know. I mean, that's the other.
Bruce, I think just a recognition, and it's more for us, and even for you guys, in different phases of a project, there's different input that's necessary. So for the last decade, and I can't believe I've had a decade with you guys on and off CWG, it's been about a project that, what can we do to help it develop it, and give you feedback. Now you guys are heading into construction, knock on wood, here soon, then it becomes much more about construction impacts and community engagement and protection of the community. So just a recognition for us that things are changing, so that discussions that we'll have will change, should change as well. So our expectations should be much lower on feedback on single or double, I mean, all that stuff is done. If you guys be happy
No,
to reopen that.
that's a very, very pertinent and relevant point, because what we've been talking about was having the CWGs be more involved as we develop the construction transportation management plans and bringing those, so that very much transitioning to getting ready for construction, as well as maybe somehow combining the CWGs with the design review committee as we start getting into some of the station attributes. So I really appreciate that feedback, and if anyone else has any other thoughts on that, but that's sort of the direction we were leaning. We also had talked about maybe doing something with both of the universities, Santa Clara and San Jose State, and maybe having some students participate or make it part of a class project, so that they could really get involved and then present, and we could get kind of our, what do I want to say, a more young adult youth perspective, as they are going to be utilizing the system for the longest, and they are our future. Sure.
And Chris, I do see your hand raised online, so we'll get to you next.
Okay, thank you. I want to echo some of Chris Shea and Denise's comments in relation to where we're headed, and in relation to the specific projects for downtown and the arena. And I fully support the ideas of bringing in the people that are going to be in the middle of constructing these projects, either to the CWG through the working group, or in some fashion, if we have to branch out and have a group that just has to really drill down on, for example, the station at the arena. So knowing we're heading into a new phase regarding construction, regarding the stations, I just wanted to support that with what Chris Shea had just mentioned, and kind of elaborate a little more on that.
Passing it back to you, Laura.
Yeah, I was really excited about the idea that you mentioned about student involvement, of course, from the design program perspective, maybe that you can involve like class project, you have student competition. We're culture by officers as well, you have industry community partners, engaged, help it in a more community approach, and that way but again, for me, what I would do to that also is that I feel I'm new to this, so I really feel a little bit ignorant of the whole bigger breadth of it, and bringing so late, and it feels like the construction is imminent, and I'm feeling, you know, I don't know how effective it can be, but I know.
Yeah, we can get that. Great. I think, when do we plan on awarding the station contracts? We're still a big year out or so, right?
Yeah, so we're still doing we're still doing final design on the stations, but you mentioned the company we're using AutoCAD with this construction cloud. So we've got all kinds of models you guys have seen brought in before. We certainly bring students in and kind of run through that model process and hire them as interns as well. So we're always looking for people that help facilitate work on the job for sure. But yes, in terms of timeline, the construction of the stations would be awarded in the next 2 years or so, a year and a half, 2 years. We're really looking at starting those tunnel construction packages, getting the structural foundations of those stations happening, and then toward the end of 2026, 2028, that's when the station construction might start. And it really depends on how we get on this.
Any other questions in person or comments online?
Just for every other person who will start asking questions, can we have everyone use the mic, because some folks on the mic can't hear you?
Yes, so to repeat that, if you don't mind just raising your hand and I'll come to you, and if you could repeat your questions, and your name with the mic so that our online folks can hear, that would be great.
Is my work?
It works, but it sometimes needs help. So thank you for your patience. All right, if there's nothing else, we can move on to the next section. So thank you for your thoughts and comments here.
Did you want to talk about the interim check-in, the check-in? We missed one.
I think I briefly mentioned that we have our standard series, and then based on feedback that the board would like from our CDBGs, we do have the interim check-in meetings. And so what we were thinking was for the interim check-in meetings, maybe to make it less taxing on all of you to do those remote and not do the hybrid meeting. So did want to get a pulse on how you feel about that. So we'd have our in-person regular scheduled meetings, but for the interim meetings where we may not have as much notification to plan for, like these we'll have planned are for, a year ahead. But for the interim meetings, wanted to get your feedback on how you feel about if we do those remotely versus hybrid.
It would be great to have a hybrid option for all these meetings. So even if you have to have the VTA option, that's fine. But I'd like to see a hybrid option.
Okay.
Wow. Anyone else?
We will do hybrid interim meetings, then thank you for that feedback, appreciate it.
Any online folks have thoughts or comments on this, on our interim meetings? No. All right. Thank you, Bernice.
All right. Brent Purse, Planning and Engagement Manager. Let's talk about construction. Yes, we are under construction, even though we're still talking about design. We're going to be focusing on the west side of the project today in Santa Clara at our new hall yard. So this is what the yard layout could potentially look like. These are colors on the map you see are kind of different laydown areas that our contractor will be building. But there's a couple of things going on right now. We're mainly doing preparatory work. So that's a lot of grading and utility work. You can see on the top there, TBM launch structure. So this is where the boring machine will launch. Bernice talked about that critical decision that the board will be making on this structure next month in December. And that will kind of lay the schedule and the path forward for how the structure is built for the actual machine when it arrives on site. So there's been a lot going on. It's pretty exciting out there. There's a lot of utility work that's happening within the yard, connections to our public facilities. So we're connecting to water systems, to sewer systems. The yard didn't have a lot of those connections, or we needed to relocate or move them for the convenience of the contractor. They're doing electrical work, they're moving PG&E poles, things like that out of the way. Old stuff that the railroad left there years ago is being cleared off the site. We need to put a lot of drainage on this site as well. So there's a lot of new stormwater work going, drainage work. It's fun to watch the big equipment. We have a video in a little bit that can kind of show you what it looks like. To come in advance of the TBM work, there's a little bit more work that has to happen. So we've got to put in potentially wells to help us control the water on the site as our contractor starts to dig deeper. We may be putting noise curtains up to help protect our neighbors, the earthquakes, or the community that lives there. We have to put monitoring equipment to monitor buildings, to monitor the railroad tracks. So things move or subside, that we can monitor that over time. And then there's a lot of water treatment that's needed as well. So you'll get to see some of those in the flyover video. So this is a drone aerial video that we're going to show for you all. And it starts on the southern end of the site. So kind of it starts, we're looking north right now. So 880 is behind you in this video, and the drone is going to fly north over the site. And I'll try and narrate a little bit. So you can see the Caltrain tracks there on the left and our residential homes. The earthquake stadium is to the right of this PayPal. You can see these big blue tanks here. We call those banker tanks. Those are our filtration systems that are allowing the contractor to filter all the water on the site. Doing a lot of grading here on the right side of the image. Got the big grader out there. It's cutting a new entrance. Kind of the brown fabric that you can see kind of coming into the video. This is part of our drainage ditch right here. So this site was very uneven. They've had to import a lot of material to make it level or move material around on the site. Treat the site, make sure it's compact, it's ready to receive a lot of the heavier equipment or build some of the factories and buildings that we need to build here. We'll be manufacturing all the tunnel liners on this site. So on the northern end of the site, we're about halfway through the site here. We'll have offices, so the contractor has their offices on the other end of the site here. We're approaching kind of in the bend of the site here. This is where the eventual parking structure will start. And then we're kind of entering the area where the station, the tracks will be on the left. The station and the parking garage will kind of be on the right, and we're looking at Brokaw right now. So this is our Brokaw entrance on the left, and as the drone pivots to the left, it'll be looking at the bicycle pedestrian undercrossing that goes under the existing Caltrain tracks, connects to Brokaw there. So there you go. Yes, Ron.
Thank you. As this site matures with more and more activity, will the only entrance and egress and exit road that comes with it be Brokaw? Because
yeah,
the intersection of Brokaw and Miller is pretty testy. Hospital there, and remember what, I know the times that I've turned out. And very, very long. Plans for another entrance.
yeah, to repeat your question shortly, Ron asked if how many entrances are. We have 2 entrances and exits. One is on Brokaw and one is on New Hall, kind of behind PayPal Stadium. So we use them both for different things. And we have a traffic management plan that says when and how many trucks can use those entrances. Yep. Tony.
Thanks, Brett. Just wondering, do we have in our DIR any archaeological concerns? Do we have that we monitor on this site at all for anything, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, we have those concerns across the whole project, so those are monitored by our environmental team. Yeah, those works were done before we started the grading work. Yep. Okay. Any questions online?
No questions online.
Okay, we'll move forward. We wanted to talk a little bit more about construction screening with you all. So this would be fencing or screening that we'll put up at our construction sites, and we have some examples of what some of it looks like at our new hall yard. We plan to have screening at all of our sites. So where the stations are built, Diridon, Downtown, 28th. And also, here's the example of what it looks like now out at the new hall yard. We'll also have opportunities for project signage and some co-branding. So there's a long lead time on a lot of the screening. It has to be ordered months and months ahead. So some of our key partners had interest in co-branding, so we were able to work with the earthquakes example here. think some other partners in the room have some interest in co-branding as well, near their facilities. But this provides, you know, a little bit more privacy between the construction site and our neighbors. And is, you know, cleaner than your typical kind of post and beam kind of hodgepodge construction that sometimes you would see. You're also going to see other signage on the project as well. So we have kind of project branded signage on the right here. This is just to inform the public, hey, if you have questions, you don't know what's going on out here, who can you call, who can you contact? What is it that's being built here? Kind of your typical signage. And you might see other things as well on the fences as construction moves forward. So our Thriving Business Program, and we get that kicked off when heavier major construction starts. We want to be launching that. We'll be using our fences for that to do some marketing for businesses, particularly in our business cores like the downtown or at 28th Street. We may have other wayfinding signage, how you get here. You know, can you go this direction? If you need to find this key place, how do you get to that place? Particularly during some of the really important events that San Jose and Santa Clara are going to be hosting in the coming years.
Right.
Question from Chris.
Brent, thank you very much. Appreciate it, Sharps. You know, this comes from the right place. We want to push you guys to be better. So the fence lines are okay, but there's definitely a sense of kind of a NASCAR feel to them where we put up all the information and we try to push information. And what you're really going to be doing is you're going to be doing construction near us for the next 12 years. So you're entering a neighborhood, whether it's downtown or Diridon, it'd be great to do something nicer, like elevate. In 2021, you guys showed us some images, placemaking ideas, really beautiful things. We don't have to put Sharps messages. I know our partners that are, you know, where Jamestown are not interested in that as well. So if we could elevate that and do placemaking and put some nice art, because it'll be with us for 12 years. And so we'd much rather do that than have kind of the NASCAR feel to it. So take that from a very positive critique, not a negative. I know you guys have a lot of information to share.
Go ahead, Bernice.
So I think we will do the branding, but then space that out, and ultimately, once the fencing gets in its final configuration, then we would have space in between that branding for the more, what I would say, artistic banner type inserts that would overlay on top of like blue screening. So then we would help with a small business resource, businesses to help advertise them together. Businesses related to the thriving business. So there's kind of literally an overlay program for the plain screen.
I would hope we could elevate, sorry. I would hope we would elevate the placement. It's more important than the information sharing in the branding and the chain link with the mesh. The chain link with the mesh on it'll be with us for 12 years. That's why I'm pushing so hard on this. And great, we'll have 1.5 million times 12 years. So, you know, the number of people or 12 million people are going to walk past this just in our installation, much less downtown. It'd just be great to help us create a sense of place. Jamestown is trying, we're trying as well. You guys are going to be our neighbor for 12 years. It'd be great to elevate rather than chain link and the VTA symbol on the front, you know, the Quake series. I just hope you guys showed us some things in 2021 that were really inspiring, and other places have done this really well, and we should treat San Jose the way those other cities have treated it. And it's not expensive. It's wood and hard work, and we would push it with Jamestown. We would push in that hard work as well. I think that I don't want to speak for Jamestown, but that would be our.
This is Tony Brennan, Chamber. One other thing that you actually use is VTA BART station with the TOD. Have you considered using like webcams, at least at the station construction, where it can be monitored, put online so people can check in, and then you can do lapse photography and really market off of that. But we found it really effective for the development there. So just wondering if that's been considered.
We have in the past used webcam technology. For phase one, we partnered with a company called EarthCam that monitored our construction and loved publishing those time-lapse videos for the public.
I wanted to echo what you're saying about that. The environment perspective is going to be out in public areas. Over time, it's really, it's really, you know, and that's not really for that forward endeavor. It would be a really important thing, like the future that if there's a way, community, community investment in that, because it's for us.
Local artists, that kind of thing.
Not just local artists, but maybe local industry investments, and like firms and other community partners who would be invested in the local city as well.
Maybe we can make the signage and fencing a topic for one of the early 2025 CWGs, and then we can discuss and we can come back and find out. I'm not sure if there, and I don't know if any others here, if there are any physical constraints, safety constraints of what materials we need to use around the, you know, that's safe, and what option, like what I hear you saying is maybe some kind of painted wooden fencing or something like that, right? I'm just imagining that. So we'll have to check and find out what materials are allowed, like based on safety. And then we can just discuss about how we can have the community provide our written signage.
Oh, yeah, listen to Mike over here, it has offering up opportunities. We did that at Santa Clara University, was substantially improved the construction experience for everybody around it. I could bring in those images, we can talk about the contribution for the arts and the creatives. We do want to make sure that this is an opportunity for VTA. We certainly want to make sure it's just something we're all around. And we know when the temporary construction starts, all expenses move, and that's not, it's not the first year counted, it's 11 through 1 to 2 through even 14.
Thank you for that feedback. Yeah, that's, you gave my other speaking point for this slide, Chris, which is like, we kind of think of fencing or screening in multiple phases, right? There's a lot of the initial early works where the fence may be moving around while buildings are coming down or utilities are being moved or installed. But once the perimeter of particularly our stations gets locked in, that's when we can do maybe something more permanent. Just wanted to note these really important events coming up, right? A lot of eyes, more eyes than normal. The Super Bowl, March Madness, FIFA World Cup coming to the area in 26. So it's our goal to, you know, work on these things for sure before then. Last thing construction related we wanted to go over are, we get a lot of questions about what happens when VTA or the project you know, has to buy property for the project, and what happens after that exchanges hands. So we wanted to dive into that a little bit with you all, just to kind of let you know what goes on behind the scenes. So when VTA acquires property, usually there's like an initial phase of things that we have to do. We'll often have to do environmental assessments. We may have to turn off the utilities, do demolition, or do some more testing, things like that. So typically, this is like pre-construction work, not the heavy major things, but we'll often set up security as one of the first things that we do, either through our contractor or through VTA. We do an assessment. We have to survey all the buildings. If there's buildings near us, make sure they don't settle, put markers on them. We have to get permits typically for that. One of the other first things we do is we work with our utility providers. If there are buildings that come down, we have to turn off the gas, turn off the power, turn off the water, so we don't affect those things. You know, things happen in construction, right? So we try to minimize those risks up front. On some of our properties, we have to do demolition. We've got old buildings or buildings that have to be remediated or come down or cleaned. Those have to be permitted. We have to work with the city as well on those. And once that happens, then typically there's other preparatory work. We might do soils testing or additional grading, kind of like what's happening at the West Portal now, all that early kind of preparatory work. Set up the construction site, get the trailers in there for the contractor, maybe do some additional stormwater work. And then throughout this, we want to make sure you all are informed. So one of the key ways you can stay informed, obviously, is at these meetings, but we really encourage the public to subscribe to updates based on the station that you're most interested in, so that when we send out those construction notices, you're being told of maybe early work, or late work, or long work, or how the work will affect you, the time, what will be happening, will it be noisy, that kind of thing, how long it will last. And that's really important. We typically do that on a station by station basis. So we have about 6 categories you can subscribe to receive notifications. Any questions on construction related materials? If not, anyone online?
No questions online.
Okay.
But just a reminder for folks, I think the online folks are just having some challenges hearing, so if you could, when you have the mic, just put it really closely to your mouth, that would be really appreciated. So, thank you.
Take it away, Chris. Oh, one question on.
We have a question from Rob. Did you identify the location for the head house and boring machine? I might have missed it.
Location of the head house and boring machine. Any specifics on the head house?
Rod, are you able to come off mute and chime in?
Can you hear me when I speak?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, that's fine. I can't type very well anyway. I don't think I saw you identify the location where the entryway would be, the head house for the boring.
Okay, I think I understand better.
I may have missed it, but I didn't hear it. And by the way, I don't know how Christine is holding her mic, but I can hear about every third word from her.
From Kristen, okay. Thank you for the feedback. Yeah, I'll call out here, hopefully you can, there it is. Hopefully you, folks online and in the room can see this purple mouse here. So this is the New Hall Yard or West Portal in Santa Clara. This blue area is the approximate location of where the tunnel boring machine will launch. So it's very close to the active railroad, which is a key fact. It really is a determining factor on how we'll build the structure because it's so close. But it's kind of on the southwest side of the yard.
And this was right at the beginning of your presentation then, the flyover?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So where the flyover started is where the launch structure, we refer to it sometimes, will be.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Also called the West Portal. Yes, there's 2 portals, a West Portal at New Hall and an East Portal south of Berryessa.
Any other questions or comments online in person before we move on? And hopefully this is audible, Rod. All right, I'm gonna switch mics because this one's way better. And we'll get into our BSB 2 year in review here. So just wanted to share a little snapshot on all the work and engagement that we've been doing here on the BART Phase 2 project this year. So we were able to engage over 2,000 people in our community. And these are in-person people, in-person metrics, and we're able to attend over 40 different types of events this year in all of the different station areas and project-wide. So really exciting to be out there talking to folks in the different communities and hearing from you as CWG members, but also our public at large. So thank you for the ways that you've been contributing to, from sharing events, sharing social media, and all of that. Did want to share at a project-wide level, we were able to attend, or we were able to host a community meeting. Like I mentioned, we have 2 more coming up in December. So all of the metrics sharing tonight are actually to date, not including our meetings tonight and to come in December. We were also able to have 4 tabling pop-ups, more on the project alignment scale, and an Ask VTA event. We had 4 project alignment walking tours, which was really great to get out onto the project sites, and also a combined CWG meeting in September. At 28th Street Little Portugal, we did have a community meeting, like Bernice mentioned, and had a tabling pop-up at Dia de Portugal. And they had a walking tour also at the 28th Street Little Portugal station and 5 CWG meetings. And for our Downtown-Diridon folks, we had 4 different tabling pop-ups from Viva Calle to different local events in the area, and also 5 CWG meetings. So thank you for attending those, both in person and virtual this year. In Santa Clara, we were able to have 3 tabling pop-ups and 4 CWG meetings. Just wanted to also walk you through our 2024 digital engagement. So as you may know, we launched our project microsite in 2024 in August specifically. And our new website URL is VTA BART.org. So I know there's been some confusion. Our previous website was hosted on the VTA website, and currently there's a redirect to our VTABART.org. This is where you can find all the latest and greatest from our project milestones to any materials. So if you're looking for our CWG meeting materials, they're actually hosted at VTABART.org. They won't be on our main website. And in terms of digital content released, we were able to issue 12 construction notices, 96 social media posts. The media covered the project 147 times this year. We wrote 11 project-related blogs. And also we'll share a little bit on our social media toolkit, which some of you have been asking about, and we're happy to distribute today or this past week. And then with regards to social media engagement, we were able to reach over almost 200,000 people. So really exciting metrics to share with you all just for 2024, and hope to continue this momentum and strategy going forward. So as mentioned, our CWG stakeholder toolkit, this has been something that's been discussed and brought up at previous meetings, and we're finally excited to share that we've launched this for you all. So as of Friday, you should have received an email with our toolkit. So what this is just a communications toolkit for you as CWG members to use, whether it's in preview of an upcoming meeting or if it's in recap of a closed meeting. We will have various stages of toolkits to share with you. So on Friday, you received a pre-toolkit promo to share with your constituents and your communities. And there's social media copy as well as general messaging if you want to share via social media or email or just by word of mouth. We really appreciate that. And do let us know your immediate thoughts and reactions. I know we're just launching this week, and I'm sure it'll continue to evolve. So if you have any thoughts or feedback, we'd love to hear that from you. We also do want to mention that in advance of our upcoming December community meeting, we will be having a stakeholder toolkit specific to that community meeting as well. So hoping to, extend our meetings, our CWG meetings, our community meetings out to the larger public so that it goes beyond and folks can stay involved in the project. And with that, I do want to pause if there's any questions on general engagement this year, or maybe the toolkits if folks have any questions or comments. Any folks online? All right. And with that, we'll transition to our member report out. So would love to hear any ways that you've been sharing updates with your communities on our project, or if there's things that you've been hearing, questions, comments from your communities as well. So I'll open up the floor. Feel free to raise your hand in person or online, and we can chime in there. And I see
I did use the toolkit to send out a notice on this meeting.
Thank you very much.
Very helpful, very helpful. Glad to see you.
Thank you very much. And I see Chris Morrissey has his hand raised online, and then we'll go to Tony after Chris.
Thanks, Kristen. I wanted to mention that the Arena Authority meets on a regular basis, and the CWG is always an agenda item. And we've been very appreciative of Bernice and Kristen staff who have attended previous Arena Authority board meetings when certain milestones are made. And we'll be doing that again in 2025, where we'll be asking VTA staff to provide an update to the Arena Authority board sometime, probably in the first half of the 2025 year. So that topic is an ongoing topic that continues at the Arena Authority board meeting at virtually every meeting.
Thank you, Chris, and we'll be in touch.
This is Tony Miranda with the Chamber. Thanks for the toolkit. I just got back into town, so I'm going to be meeting this week with our public relations people to try and figure out how to get that out. So excited about doing that. Also, I think the board is interested potentially, Kristen, in having just a presentation to the board, kind of an update. I can work with you on that. Could be usually we do it at the beginning of the board meetings. That gets out to 40 different business people that kind of get the word out. So that's good. And also was proud to get that letter pen for that grant. So I'm hoping that it does go forward. If you need more, let us know. So we'll be glad to try to support that. Thanks.
Thank you, Tony.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. We've been spending an inordinate amount of time as some of the board members have started discussing the possibility of double board with continuation. Support of the staff's recommendation that we stick with single board. And I know that's complete through both San Jose State has spoken publicly, a letter from the Chamber, SJDA, as well as ourselves. So just continuously advocating on behalf of the project we had, and let's build this project.
Appreciate your support and advocacy, as always.
And for the neighborhood perspective, much of my conversations on VTA BART is for what's going on with that. So, and I follow your instructions, putting to rest that keeps coming out.
Thanks. Any folks online want to chime in here? All right. Thank you all for the report outs here. Do you want to share our next steps? So as mentioned, our next meeting is in 2025 in February on the 11th, a Tuesday. And we're planning on sharing a general phase 2 update as well as a construction update and more information to come on our Thriving Business Resource Program. And we'll also dive deep into the 2025 CWG work plan as well, get your thoughts and feedback on our direction and next steps for 2025. And I do want to pause on a personal note. I'm actually pregnant. So I will be taking family leave shortly, actually next month, and Nan will be stepping in to keep CWGs running, but it's been a pleasure working with you all, and I'm not going anywhere, but I will be taking some time off, so appreciate it. Okay. Thank you. And lastly, before we close our meeting, I do want to remind everyone about our community meeting that we mentioned earlier. So we do have a virtual meeting on the 2nd through Zoom, and folks can go to that URL, the bit.ly, or scan the QR code. And like I mentioned, we'll send out more information to come. And then our in-person meeting will be on that Wednesday, December 4th here at the Chamber. So thank you, Tony and team, for opening up the space here. So with that, I know we have 12 minutes to spare. I will give you back some time, but thank you all for joining both virtually and in person, and hope you have a great night.
Okay.
Sal?
Thanks.